Welcome to the Charbon Report, and to our listeners on Google, Spotify, and other podcast platforms. I'm Michael A. Charbon. Today's title, Blonde-haired, blue-eyed refugees. A refugee is defined as a person forced to leave their country in order to escape war, persecution, or natural disaster. You know, the horrific war in the Ukraine has seen over 4 million refugees flee to neighboring European countries. The global community must demand reporters deliver the hard images, the factual actualities of what they see, in their words, unvarnished, without filters or the censorship of organizations or news bureaus. The atrocities in the Ukraine must be shown. International reporters, well, they told the stories of Ukrainian women and children brought to a safe border, then kissed a loved one goodbye, as men 18 to the age of 60 are forbidden from leaving and must return to the Ukraine to defend their country. The refugees left were described as blonde-haired, blue-eyed women and children, coming from a relatively civilized European country. They are portrayed as educated, prosperous, middle-class people, mostly Christian, who Europeans can identify with because of the way they dress, how they speak, what they eat, how they worship. They left nice cars, clean streets, apartment buildings, playgrounds, and parks that look like any other European city. As one reporter put it, these people look like people who live next door to you. The Ukraine was described as never like Iraq or Afghanistan. Those countries were fraught with decades of conflicts and war, rampant killings, Islamists, and radical terrorist atrocities. These frank descriptions describe the truths witnessed by seasoned reporters. Well, some media organizations had a big problem with these descriptive words, big time. They considered them racist, highly divisive, and deeply offensive. They actually categorized them as white supremacist media, who displayed clear examples of systemic elitist reporting and prejudiced descriptions from a European superior and North American news organization doctrine. What a load of crap. One news organization, WION, which is short form for World is One News, get together, based in New Delhi, India, posted a passionate report. They lost it. They accused news organizations of being discriminatory because Ukrainian refugees were described as blonde-haired, blue-eyed. Why, those reporters only saw their skin color and their eyes. Yeah. WION, well, they felt it revealed the systemic racist nature of a predominantly white Slavic countries who accepted the Ukrainian refugees. Imagine that. The reporting was judgmental, especially to refer to Ukrainians as civilized, educated, and an advanced society. Further, they believe that Black and Middle Eastern and North Africans, many who were Muslims, are the reasons why European Slavic countries did not open their arms to those refugees like they did to over 4 million Ukrainians. Further, they represented when reporters described the Syrian and African refugee crisis, their reporting was not complimentary and revealing deeply based racist embedded white supreme doctrine. What? For context here, kids, these claims came from an India media source, okay? Ironic, because when 140 members of the UN General Assembly voted to condemn Russia's invasion and destruction of the Ukraine, India, well, they abstained from the vote. Yeah, India stated that they were deeply concerned. Right. As of late, with the undeniable horrific images from Bucha in Ukraine, India, well, now they condemn the killings, but they still avoid blaming Russia. Not quite sure who did it. So let us remember that in 2015, the majority of Syrian and Eritrean refugees were single males of military age, most with no identification to verify who the heck they were or where they came from, so no identity, with no money, no means of support, no formal education. They were predominantly neither Christian or Jewish, generally unskilled, and there was a language barrier, and they were fleeing a third world country. Not really ideal candidates for integration, do you think? But in 2015, 1.3 million Syrian and Afghanistani, West Asian, Nigerian, and other refugees gained refugee status and entered Europe without question, and they were greeted with open arms. Remember the trains at the train stations where the people were lined up with clothes and water and food and all these placards? Germany took more than 1 million refugees. Germany. But suddenly, Europeans took great exception to refugee claimants, as boatloads of North African Etrians continued to come with the objective to compromise the UK, Germany, and other European nations and take advantage of their national health care and social assistance funding. These were not Syrians. These were illegal immigrants who believed they had the right to just walk into Europe and enter any nation without respect for the laws or, you ready for this? Sovereign borders. America. Europeans were very leery of undocumented refugees from conflict-ridden regions, I should say. Because, you know why? Islamic militants and the fundamental divide in moral and religious codes, and pointing to the basic disrespect for women's rights. Can you imagine getting away with that in Germany? Nein! That's not racist. That's reality. You know, the press, they suppressed reporting about the grave problems that the Syrian refugees brought to Sweden and France. It was called no-go areas, where the police were not allowed to enforce or even enter, and they still exist today. While in Germany, the Munich-based federal police reported that in Cologne, Hamburg, Stuttgart, and Dusseldorf, bands of men who were described as, and I quote here, North African Arab dark-skinned foreigners, end quote, sexually assaulted some 1,200 plus women, and not just once, it went on. Disturbing facts that quickly brought a halt to unrestricted refugee resettlement. Interesting, again in 2015, Amnesty International, you know those guys, you know what they pointed out? That many Gulf nations like Kuwait, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates offered zero resettlement for Syrians. I wonder why. See, those countries, well, they've got similar customs, politics, language, food, religion. But that point, seldom heard, not a fact that pertains, right? And regarding India's dig about the Ukraine being an educated country, 25% of all international students studying medicine, dentistry, and nursing in the Ukraine universities, guess where they're from? Ding, ding, ding. India, because the Ukraine medical degrees are accepted across the world. So as the rupee flies out of India, I guess blonde-haired and blue-eyed Ukrainian educators, they're just fine. That's okay, you could say that. As WION and other reporters accuse reporters and reports of racism and demand filtration of their reports, I believe the world must demand to see the horrible, unvarnished images, hear the truth spoken by the witnesses, so as never, ever, ever to deny the atrocities or the filtration of the facts ever again. Finally, please like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And for more episodes, please visit thecharbonreport.com. Until next time, God bless and stay safe. I'm Michael A. Charbon for The Charbon Report.